As a book editor, there's one part of a manuscript that I workshop with authors more than any other: the opening chapter. Why? Because those first few pages either set your story up for success or make a reader put it down. But how do you know whether your opening is good or not? Today, I'm going to show you by doing a live edit of a real manuscript. I'm going to read through the first scene line by line and identify opportunities to improve it so that the opening pulls readers in instead of pushing them away. Thank you so much to the author who submitted these pages. It's an incredibly brave thing to do. If you want to be invited to future critique opportunities, check out the link to my newsletter Chapter Break down in the description below. Premium subscribers get access to my exclusive content and the chance to get their work featured in a video. Let's start by reading quickly through the first scene to get the lay of the land, which is how I like to start my edits. Then we'll do a second pass where I'll dive in deeper and show you exactly what edits I would make. For context, this manuscript is women's fiction. The Exhibition, Boston, 2001. Here I am on another continent, living my dream. A dream I had forgotten and now need to save. Beau Isabella conquered the art world to lose everything she ever had. What a deal, and what a mess. Me, as usual, but this time it's for real. This first paragraph is a bit confusing. I don't know if Beau Isabella is the narrator or is someone else. I also don't know what to make of the line, me as usual, but this time it's for real. I probably want to revisit this. People are gathering outside the exhibit at NAGA, Boston's prestigious modern art gallery, welcoming the snowflakes on their faces and eager to get in. Above the entrance hangs a gigantic poster adorned with vibrant, shimmering purple letters, Isabella. My first exhibition in North America. Okay, so now we know that the narrator is Isabella, who is the artist being featured. The art section of the New York Times featured an extensive review last week. I keep reading my favorite part. It is hard to believe that Boston discovered this incredible talent before we did. Visitors say they haven't experienced colors like this since the Impressionist era. Isabella's compositions spark countless interpretations. Born and raised in a small European country on the Black Sea, Isabella gave a painting to her uncle, who lives in the U.S. He declined offers from friends to buy it, but assured them he would provide another picture if it became available. Isabella responded to his request. From these humble beginnings, Isabella's colorful palette and bright, unpretentious style are now impossible to resist. Her paintings sell out within a week. She struggles to keep up with painting before the next exhibition opens. The public and the critics have fallen in love with her. So I don't love this passage where the author pasted the review because we've barely been immersed in the narrative before we're taken out of it to now get this whole review section. And it feels like they're using the review as a bit of an info dump to get us information about Isabella, when really we should glean that information from Isabella's own narrative reflection. We could learn about where she's from and that she got her start in the art world by gifting her uncle a piece of art via her own reflections on her past. Revealing the information like this really severs our connection to her, and it disrupts the flow of the narrative. Yesterday was different. I stood near the gallery entrance in my burgundy evening dress, trying to appear both graceful and casual amid the camera flashes. I'm not ready for celebrity just yet. Okay, so now we're jumping back into yesterday, and we have a tense inconsistency issue. When we began the manuscript, it was in present tense. Here I am on another continent living my dream, a dream I have forgotten and now need to save. We're in present tense. But now, after the review, we're in past tense. Yesterday was different. I stood near the gallery entrance in my burgundy evening dress. That's in past tense as well. But then there's another slip into present tense. I'm not ready for celebrity just yet. Let's keep going and see how the tense plays out. My gallery partner, Alicia, approached me and said I seemed deep in thought. Sometimes I try to ignore reality, still half believing it's an illusion. Now we're back in present tense. So there's kind of two dimensions of the scene happening where we have present day Isabella, which seems to be the next day, reflecting on yesterday's events in past tense. All of this is just a bit confusing. Alicia took me aside to meet yet another journalist. I'm assuming this is happening in yesterday's scene because it's in past tense. Meanwhile, I handled the press questions with ease. They've become more routine, even on television. Some journalists worship me and submit to my presence just to serve the public, even if they haven't seen my work. Others are looking for a juicy detail that might make me more intriguing, trying to chip away at my art goddess halo. Still, this time, a humble man from a local magazine, at first distracted and absorbed in his notes, brought me out of my shell with his last question. How has your talent remained, even after you ignored it for decades? Is there someone in the family from whom you inherited this gift? I took a deep breath. Feeling miserable for not having painted in years, I didn't need a gray-suited journalist to remind me of that. I'm 38, not retired. Despite the subtle provocation, I responded with a calm smile. It's not as if I completely ignored it. Books with my illustrations flew off the shelves like hotcakes. I enjoy children's books the most because they encourage kids to give wings to their imagination before they can read longer texts. The most important thing in life is to touch someone with what you do. If you give somebody a lesson, valuable advice, a beautiful song, or a new life, then you've been present in this world. I shook my head, letting my earrings swing to give him a sign that the interview was over. Now, I'm a bit lost here with Isabella's response to the journalist's question here because I thought she was a visual artist. That's why she was having an exhibition at the Boston Modern Art Museum. But here she's talking about her work being illustrations in children's books, which is something we haven't heard about before. She also talks about having a break in her career. So I feel like I'm not quite understanding the backstory that I need to understand what's at stake with this interview and this exhibition. After that, I enjoyed the peacefulness of my natural surroundings, an exhibition hall filled with paintings and new ideas. Still, it was a pleasant surprise when the next visitor entered the room. Angel's height and sunny aura seized everyone's attention. He surveyed the space, searching for a suitable place to start. I bounded over to him. I wish that Isabella would reveal here what her connection is to Angel. Clearly they know each other, but we don't know what that relationship is. Welcome, so good to see a familiar face. I meant it. This man had taught me to be authentic, even when I was nervous or scared. And my heart was strong now, so there was no reason to be scared. She says here that Angel taught her to be authentic, but we don't know what that really means. It's still not specific enough to help us understand the nature of their relationship. Hi, that appreciative look again. I thought we had set our relationship on a different level. I'm not quite sure what that means. Does she wish there was a romantic connection and he's being more cordial and formal? I'm not sure. Regardless, though, he helped me start painting again. I will never forget it. Again, I want more detail there. You look great. Would you show me around the exhibition? Of course. You are my most special guest. It's an amazing success, but you deserve it. Congratulations. Thank you. How come you're in Boston? I tried a subject-like tone. I get a little lost here on who's saying what in the conversation, so we need to take another closer look at the line breaks. Also, I'm not sure what a subject-like tone means. I'm here to prepare an architectural project. Wonderful. Always restless. I paused. Do you have plans for tonight? I'm tired of formal events. Perhaps you know of an excellent restaurant that isn't swarming with journalists? I was confident I could be around him without feeling tempted. Of course, he knew one. Angel had excellent taste. He met many people. They cherished and respected him for his integrity and accomplishments in architecture. Sponsoring projects to support young talent from less privileged families, he also organized free workshops himself. Professionally, everyone could rely on his sound judgment. This feels like the author is telling us about Angel rather than showing us his characteristics and personality in the scene. We hear he has integrity and is accomplished in his field, and that everyone relies on his sound judgment. But it would be more compelling if he could convey those characteristics in the scene with Isabella. Also, I crave a bit more specificity, like what types of architectural projects in the area or in the country has he completed? But I knew another side of him. Angel possessed sharp weapons capable of piercing any woman's heart. His wavy black hair, amber eyes, and charming smile hadn't changed. Over the years, he had sculpted and preserved his knowledge of culture and history in the body of a Roman god, and his mind was as sharp as a razor. How could I not have believed, as young as I had been, that I would find no one better? If Angel is seemingly so perfect in both personality and body, then what went wrong between him and Isabella? I feel like we're really operating at a surface level here when we need to dive deeper to understand the layers of their dynamic. I'd also like to revisit this description of Angel so that it ties back to Isabella's specific memories of him, rather than her just making general commentary about how attractive he is. Angel took me to a charming, cozy little place nestled amid the cobblestone streets of Boston's historic district. So now we've exited the gallery scene, which felt a bit abrupt. I would have liked at least a bit of transition language to show her and Angel exiting, especially because it's her exhibition, right? So presumably she can't just sneak out unnoticed. So that would actually be really interesting to show if they sneak out a back door or something, or a journalist or the gallery director chases after them or asks where she's going. That would create a little bit of tension and make them going out to dinner something exciting because they weren't supposed to do it. We sat right in the middle so I could see the deep mahogany furnishings and rich velvet drapes adorning the windows. I would have preferred a corner table, but I knew this meant nothing to my companion. Intricate wrought iron chandeliers cast a soft golden light on our table, while the attentive staff presented a Michelin star menu to us. Naturally, it was costly. Here's another place to be more specific. What does that Michelin starred menu actually look like? And what is the cost? Even though I knew I wouldn't be paying, it was a relief not to look at the prices on the menu anymore. At least if I managed to turn the wheel once again. Some tailwinds would be nice. The sooner the better. I bit my lip, trying not to think. I deserved a good meal. It couldn't be right to provide only for others and have so little for myself. Less than a little. I was never good at math, but less than a little still sounded better than nothing, and I hate it when my accountant claims I have less than nothing. I looked up from the menu and smiled. I'm a bit confused about the discussion of finances in that second to last paragraph, because we got the impression that Isabella was a successful artist. Her paintings sell out as soon as they go for sale. So how is she running into financial troubles where she can't even afford dinner and is excited for Angel to pay for it? Again, I feel like we need more context for her whole situation for this entire scene to resonate emotionally. Okay, so now let's break down what's actually happening in this scene. The first part is happening the day after the exhibition, or maybe day 2 of the exhibition, where people are gathering outside the exhibit and she's reflecting on the review from last week. Then most of the scene is actually taking place in technically a flashback. What happened yesterday whenever she was at the gallery and she spoke to a journalist, and then she goes into the exhibition space, the exhibition hall. Yep. And then she runs into Angel, and then they go to dinner. So at a high level, that's what's going on in this opening scene. We know some interesting facts about Isabella. She's a successful artist. She is showing an exhibition in Boston, but is from a European country. She has some type of relationship history with Angel that seems not fully resolved, and there seems to be some financial troubles. However, none of these elements are fully developed in enough detail for us to really latch onto her circumstances. So I'm going to restructure some things and flag some places for the author to add those details. The goal of any opening scene is for the reader to feel connected to the protagonist and invested in seeing what happens to them. This first scene does a good job setting up some potential sources of conflict, but we ultimately don't have enough information to fully feel invested in seeing where it goes. So first things first, I want to fix this tense issue that's happening in the opening page, where we begin in present tense, and then after the review section, which I also want to fix, we hop back to yesterday was different, and then we're in past tense for basically the rest of the scene. Because this only happened yesterday, why not just back up the narrative timeline and begin the novel with the scene of the exhibition? I would honestly cut all of this. I know that looks like a lot, but cut all of this and then begin with, I stood near the gallery entrance in my burgundy evening dress, trying to appear both graceful and casual amid the camera flashes. I'm not ready for celebrity just yet. And then I would change this to, I was not ready for celebrity just yet, because I don't want to have tense inconsistencies. But now that we're starting here, we need to add some more details to really immerse us in the scene, and also establish that this is Isabella's exhibit at the Boston Museum of Modern Art. So here, I'm going to add some of the language that we had above. And this is just placeholder. It's not going to be very good, but hopefully you get the gist. So basically we can take this line. Will it let me copy it? Oh, there we go. Perfect. Okay. We want to change it to past tense. Above the entrance hung a gigantic poster adorned with vibrant shimmering purple letters, Isabella. But here I want to establish that it is Isabella's exhibit and that we're at the Boston Museum of Modern Art, because we also need that detail to ground us in the scene. So I'm going to go up here and take this, something like, it was my first exhibit at NAGA, Boston's prestigious modern art gallery. And then we also want to establish the detail that it's snowing, because that helps us know it's winter. So I might say something like, and the snowstorm hadn't kept a crowd from gathering outside. Something like that. So now let's read the new opening paragraph. I stood near the gallery entrance in my burgundy evening dress, trying to appear both graceful and casual amid the camera flashes. I was not ready for celebrity just yet. Above the entrance hung a gigantic poster adorned with vibrant, shimmering purple letters, Isabella. It was my first exhibit at NAGA, Boston's prestigious modern art gallery, and the snowstorm hadn't kept a crowd from gathering outside. I might add another line here, giving us a sense of who's in the crowd. Are they young? Are they old? Are they dressed to the nines? Or are they dressed more casually? I would probably flag that for the author. I would say something like, add one more detail after this line, helping set the scene. What does the crowd look like? Now we get into the next part of the scene. So here we have my gallery partner, Alicia, approached me and said I seemed deep in thought. But before this line, I would show Isabella deep in thought, reflecting on things, because this line that comes after, sometimes I try to ignore reality, still half believing it's an illusion, doesn't actually tell us what she's thinking about. So I would show that playing out on the page and then having Alicia make the comment that she seemed deep in thought. So that could look something like, the New York Times review had been so positive, I shouldn't have anything to fear. But nonetheless, I was terrified. And this would have to be edited depending on the author's vision for what's going through Isabella's mind, but this is just an idea. And it also brings in some of those details from the review, which, as I said earlier, I didn't want to just show on the opening page in full because it takes us out of the scene. So this is a way to weave it in without having it completely disrupt the flow of the story. Something like, they compared my work to the Impressionists and called it impossible to resist. But they also revealed the backstory I didn't want anyone to know. Not yet. Why did they have to mention where I was from? I was going to tell the public when I was ready. Something like that. Perhaps if she didn't want her home country to be revealed for some reason in the article and that was bothering her, this is a way that the author could show that. So now you have immediately brought us into the scene of the gallery entrance. You've immediately showed Isabella reflecting on the review and what's making her uneasy about it and developing some internal conflict there. And then Alicia will come in and comment that she's deep in thought. Now I would revisit that question and answer with the journalist that I didn't think was particularly illuminating or interesting when I read it through on the first pass. The question itself is fine because this could theoretically spark an interesting response from Isabella. Is there someone in the family from whom you inherited this gift? But instead of talking about her family at all, which maybe she's purposefully avoiding, she talks about her illustrations being used in children's books, which, like I said, just confused me because I thought she was an artist more so for you to hang her work in your home or something like that. So I would probably comment something to the author here, like, instead, can you have her more directly answer the question about her family here? Is she afraid to give away any details about her family for some reason? Is she holding back? Did anyone else in her family have a talent for art? That seems to really be what the question is. We want to learn more about her family and backstory. That's going to make us feel connected to her in a way that these lines about the illustrations and, her view on how art is like a present to the world, it just isn't adding that much. Then my next comment would be to use this opportunity when she is taking a break from the crowd and going into the exhibit to show us what her paintings actually look like. We don't get any physical descriptions of the paintings other than the comment in the review that they're Impressionist style. This would be a great opportunity to show Isabella looking around at her paintings, some of her favorites, perhaps some of her works she wasn't as excited about. What do they physically look like? How does she feel seeing her own art hung and displayed like this? What are the other people's reactions to it? Then let's look at the moment where she sees Angel for the first time. I would like there to be some physical choreography here. Maybe he taps her on the shoulder, or maybe she smells his cologne and immediately recognizes it, something like that. And then I would like a beat where Isabella reflects on when she last saw him, giving us a hint of what the backstory is between them. This video has gotten a lot longer than I initially intended. I think I got carried away with myself a little bit. So I'm going to stop my edits there. But if I was working with this author, I would revisit that scene where she and Angel have a conversation and then ideally sneak out of the exhibit to go to dinner, because there's a lot more that we are not unpacking in their relationship. We don't understand their history. We are really only getting surface level details about Angel, and he's coming across as maybe a bit too perfect right now. Can the author hint at some of the conflict in their relationship? Why have they been apart? Why are they only just now seeing each other again? And what does reuniting with Angel stir up in Isabella emotionally, especially with everything else going on with her exhibit? We would also need to revisit that paragraph about finances toward the end, where she talks about providing for others but not having much for herself. We're not sure what to make of that or how to interpret it because we have so little to go on regarding her family history and backstory. Bringing all of that to the surface is going to make these scenes so much more engaging. And they're going to help set up Isabella's character arc effectively from the very beginning. Thanks so much again to this author for sharing your story with us. It was so fun to do this live workshop, and I hope everyone watching found it helpful. For more real examples of how to improve your opening scenes, check out last week's video where I speed reviewed your manuscripts and discussed whether I'd accept or reject them and why. Thanks so much for watching, and happy writing!